Right, I think I'm back. I hope I'm back. Now down to no viewers. Who knows what's going on? Right, I think I'm streaming now. Let's give this a go. My wife has just let me know I'm back. Right, let's try this again. Welcome to the inaugural Very Nice Knits live stream. As you can tell, I'm imperfect, I'm unpolished, but I'm here. I decided to do this without spending any money on it, although I had to spend £5 for an app that let me use my mobile phone as a webcam. You might be able to see there that this is my overhead webcam setup on a music stand I had lying around. So apologies if it's going to be a bit shaky. Let's see what happens. Hey, there we go. We've got my webcam set up. Excellent. So the first thing today is I've got a package to open. And I'm very excited about this because I've been waiting to open this since Saturday. So this is how much I love you all. So this is some yarn I got from Laughing Hens. And I have actually got an affiliate link now. So if you want to buy some of the same yarn or have a look, they've got loads of different yarn. And if you use that link that's at the top of the screen, I get a 9% commission. I'm using the worst scissors in the house because there's no way I'm using my craft scissors for this. So this is yarn. I've actually forgotten what I've ordered. I know it's for a new shawl. So let's put that away. Nicely packaged. It looks a bit like a fish and chips package. Ooh, nice. Oh yes, I remember. I ordered some Regia Premium Merino Yak and two lovely colours. The lighting's not actually that great here. It's one of the first things I improved on streaming. Got a see if I from this. It's kind of a plum colour. I think it is called plum. It's not got the colour shade on it. Anyway, I think that was a plum. And then we've got a nice kind of a warm beige. I think this might have been called honeycomb. So they're going to go together really nice. Really nicely for a modern looking shawl that I'm going to be knitting next for my Etsy shop. Okay. So the shawl I'm going to be making from it is from this book, which I actually got from the library. Free Spirit Shawls. I've already knitted one of them from it, and I want to knit quite a few more from it actually. So I think I'll either have to keep getting it from the library or have to buy myself a copy. But this is the one I'm going to be doing with this yarn. So it's called Helsinki by Maura Kirk. It's quite of a change from ones I normally do. So it's all stripes, got a nice asymmetric pattern to it, and I'm thinking this might go well as a unisex shawl, because I think shawls are for everyone, not just people presenting as women. But I think they're good for any gender. So that's going to go on the needles probably after this stream. I think I want to sit down with a pattern and have a look at it first. So the next thing I want to do is show you what's recently off the needles. So this is another one from Free Spirit. See if I can find it. Got a bookmark in. There we go. It's this one, which is called. This is a lovely pattern by Amy Gunderson, and it's got stripes of garter stitch and stocking stitch, and it's got short rows in the stocking stitch, so the bottom of it sweeps out really nicely, whereas the top is nicely curved to the neck. So I've decided to do this. I use a variegated yarn. There's some lovely blues, and it's a wonderful, really nice and snuggly feel to it. I've decided to call this shawl Ocean Waves because I love the variegation in the colours. It's not quite even, so that reminds me of waves. And then you've got also the stripes of texture playing with stripes. I just love that effect. And I hope someone else really loves this as well, because this is going in my shop on Etsy. It would have been up last week, but I had to wait to take photos because the weather was horrible last week and there was no sunny days. And I've been finding this is a really, really difficult colourway to actually get some decent colours. It's actually not too bad on stream. The colours match quite well. The real life one. I've got my daylight lamp on, so I think that helps a lot. So yeah, that's a nice, snuggly. It's got a nice, fairly plain but lace edging as well, so it's not too fancy. Want some that's not very kind of fussy. So yeah, I really enjoyed knitting that one. The yarn for it is a Drops yarn. I think this is Drops Delight, which is quite a nice budget yarn. It's a singles yarn, which means it's got a single ply, which and it's done made so that it's like a hand dyed yarn. So it's got kind of slightly thick and thin bits to it, and yeah, with this lovely variation in colour. So if you are knitting on a budget but want the kind of the feel and the hand of a hand dyed yarn, then I do recommend Drops Delight. This used 2 skeins, and it used almost all of 2 skeins. I had about probably about 50 centimetres left, literally. Cool. So that's the new stuff. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this stream as an excuse to get some finishing done, because finishing is kind of most knitters, or rather a lot of knitters, kind of we get things off the needles, and then we put them to one side and think, oh, I'll do the sewing up later, I'll do the weaving ends later, cast on the next thing. And next thing you know, you've got 10,000 things that need to be finished, and you never get around to it. I know a couple of knitters that actually do love finishing, but they don't want to make my stuff. This is a lovely piece. This is something that if sisters watching might recognise. This is a baby surprise jacket, Elizabeth Zimmerman pattern. So it kind of starts out, you knit this weird shape which you can't really tell what's going on. It's like that, but all the way there, and then put it together, do this weird origami that way, and it becomes a cardigan. So this was a present for my nephew, who is now 2 3/4 years old, and so I knit it for him when he was born, and then I unravelled it, knit it up again into something that was massive because I'd misread my gauge. And so that sat in my pile for a while, and well, now I'm knitting it again. I've got another nibbling, a nephew or niece on the way, and starting a bit off this. Just got a little bit left. Knit. No, to sew. So I will. So I know quite a few people are not very confident when it comes to sewing up as well. There's a lot of videos out there that can help, but I think a lot of us we concentrate more on the knitting than we do sewing up and finishing. And finishing really does make a big difference. I've got a theme. Yeah, I'll be joining a side edge of garter stitch to a top edge of garter stitch. I think this might actually be a cast on. I can't remember if it's a cast on or cast off edge. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to treat them both the same. And the good thing with garter stitch is that each row, well, each two rows, each ridge is the same width as a stitch, so it works quite well for doing these kind of side to top, because it doesn't matter, it's still one to one. So I'm going to get some spare yarn. I think they say about 3 times length, but that doesn't seem enough. I'm going to get a load because I hate running out. So I've got a length of thread, and I'm going to put that on my needle. Now this is a wonderful needle. It's got a slight bend on the tip. Ooh, trying to find where my camera is. And it's got a nice big eye. There we go. A nice big eye. So it works well with wool, and with the tip I find that a lot easier for what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and make this so that I can see both sides at once. Try and zoom a bit. So this is going to be kind of a half mattress stitch and half substitute stitch or grafting. I'm going to start on the side seam, find the corner, and then go up from the inside to the out corner and pull that through. Ooh, pulled it all the way through. Try that again. Got a end I can put in, and I'm going to go up through the same hole. And I'm going to try and tidy these ends a bit because it's annoying me. Right, so I've attached it quite firmly, not that firmly actually, I'm going to do that again. It doesn't have to be perfectly firm, but I did pull it through too much. There we go. Okay, so now we've joined it to the bottom bit. I want to sew it onto the top, so I need to work out which row I'm going to do my substitute stitch on. I want to make it so that I'm duplicating. Is it duplicate stitch? Duplicate stitch, not substitute stitch. I am duplicating the humps of garter stitch. So I could do these right on the cast on, but I think I'm going to take it the row in. I need to find that corner. I think that's the first hump that I want to do. So I'm going to see where I need to put my needle. So I come up through there at the side. I'm going to zoom in some more. Okay. Pull that through. And then down to the side. So we've got another hump where that hump is. Then down at the bottom, mattress stitch. I put my needle down where the yarn came out. I want to put it up in the next. So I'm going between the ridges. I've got a ridge, and then I want to put my needle up past that ridge. Hi, chatty makes. Thank you for your welcome. I am making a baby surprise jacket, and I'm just doing the finishing touches of it. For anyone that's just it's hard to tell because I've zoomed in. There we go. And once I do that onto the mattress stitch side, I'm going to give that a bit of a tug. Okay, and then we're back up onto the top side, onto the next hump of the garter stitch. I want to come up through the next to it, down the other side of it, duplicate, and then back into the side, down where the yarn came out, up at the other side of the ring. Right, I am going to continue doing this until we all get bored, which might not be very long. This is why I'm going up rather than knitting, because it's boring. So let's see, how can we make it interesting? Oh, hi, Twin Mama Cat. Twin Mama Crafts. This is a gift for someone. I do sell things, I do sell shawls, but this is a gift for my nephew, who is nearly 3, or 3 in July, but I have another niece or nephew coming in April, so they're both going to be getting a little cardigan. So this is a pattern from Elizabeth Zimmerman. So Elizabeth Zimmerman was basically a knitting cult icon. She was active from the 1950s, and she's written quite a few books. She wrote letters pages, letters to crafting magazines and other magazines, and I think she had her own public broadcasting service, PBS channel or program in America. I haven't actually watched any of those. I should look them up, see if they're on YouTube. But she was this wonderful, no-nonsense woman that just knitted prolifically all the time, and was a homemaker as well. So she knit for all her children, her grandkids, and friends, family, and everyone. She was a very generous knitter as well. But I love her no-nonsense attitude. It's not quite the same no-nonsense attitude for me as mine, but I really get where she's coming from. So, one of her books has some baby patterns in, and she's like, "Oh, just use wool." Anyone who says they're allergic to wool or sensitive to wool, well, they're just going to have to get on with it and wear wool until they're not sensitive. So I don't quite agree with that. Um, I think allergies to clothing and sensitivity to clothing, I think, is a real thing, and I don't think we have to grin and bear things like that in this day and age. But um, the range of acrylic yarns and synthetic yarns these days is so much better than it was in Elizabeth Zimmerman's days. So, I think my practical, no nonsense point of view is if you're going to give someone baby clothes or anything for babies really, then they should be machine washable. So this is Serdar, I think, Serdar Batik, or Stylecraft Batik. And this is a wool and acrylic mix, which is machine washable. I think it's even tumble dryable, but my sister doesn't have a tumble dryer, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, babies are not known for keeping their knitwear pristine, so why knit something with why knit something that can't just be chucked into the washing machine? When it's going to a baby. Yes, Twin Mama, cottons, linens, and other animal fibres that don't contain lanolin. One of my favourite non-wool fibres at the moment is bamboo. It is similar to cotton in feel, but it's I think it's slightly more. Oh, actually, I don't know that. I was going to say it uses less water than cotton, but I'm not sure it does. It uses a lot of water, so it might not be as sustainable. But it is um, a lovely yarn, and things like I've even seen a yarn made out of milk proteins. I've never used it, but it's wonderful, kind of the technology that goes into to yarn. Um, I mean the my unboxing earlier, I did some unbox some merino alpaca. Alpaca is a lovely animal fiber for people who are sensitive to wool, because it's generally a lot better for sensitivities. Um, I think alpaca might be my current favourite thing because it's kind of like cashmere, but one, a lot cheaper, and two, a lot more hard wearing. Um, so again, with the practicalities, yes, I'd love to own a cashmere jumper, but it's going to bobble as soon as I sit on a chair. um, and yeah, I'd rather I'd rather have fibres that fit my lifestyle. Let's see how we're doing. We're doing more than halfway. Twin Mama. Yeah, alpaca does have quite a halo, and yeah, I've not come across one without a halo. I think it's because they've got quite a long staple length. So staple length is the kind of the length of the individual fibres in the yarn, and so because it's got a long staple length, then it can kind of get a bit fuzzy. So that's what the halo is. I think cashmere has a lot shorter staple length. Um, so we'll kind of have that halo because of the fuzz of the yarn, but yeah, it doesn't have as many flyaways, but it does bobble quite. And I've never actually cashmere. I was looking at there's a Rowan pattern book, Oh, thanks, OD. Right, thanks, Olivia, for doing some fact checking. Bamboo is a lot more sustainable than cotton. Ooh. Um, yeah, cashmere. I saw a lovely pattern book, a Rowan pattern book of cashmere stuff, and it's like so expensive. It's like you can spend £1,000 on just the yarn for a jumper. Well, my Etsy shop will have to do a lot of sales before I can afford that. I'd be so terrified of doing anything with it. Oh, I've got like an inch and a half left to go. And it is 29 minutes past 2. Let's see if I can get this done in the next 2 minutes. And then I can move on to some interesting knitting. Speed sewing. Next on this jacket, I've got to sew on some buttons and weave in the ends, and then I think it's done. Which is good because I've got like up to a month to do it in, more or less, because that's when the baby's due. I should be able to find the buttons that I used for the previous ones, but whether I can or not is another thing. Oh gosh, it's a weird one, this one. It's knit all in one. So it's all in one knit flat, but with shaping. So it kind of looks like a weird alien thing when you finish knitting it. And then you do some origami and sew it up, and it's magic. That's why it's called the baby surprise jacket. And it is lovely pattern, and I do recommend anyone who likes knitting to grab a hold of a pattern and do it. There is actually now a pattern for an adult surprise jacket. So if you ever want to have a rather 1980s look, then you too can wear a surprise jacket. So Chatty Makes is asking, does it make it easier? Yes and no. I mean, there's not much sewing up to this. It is literally just the two shoulder seams. So there's not much sewing up. And as I said earlier, I'm not very much of a fan of sewing up. I've just come to the end of it, so I'm just going to interrupt myself for a tutorial of how to finish it off. I'm never quite sure how to finish off sewing up. Kind of, I tend to just kind of do another stitch and then weave that in later. That looks rubbish. I've just put that stitch right on the outside, which I didn't mean to do. I meant to put that on the inside. Right, there we go. Put another stitch in on the back this time. Just finish that off. There we go. And then I will leave those in later. That's enough finishing. Zoom my camera out. Hola. So yeah, does it make it easier to knit a thing flat and then sew it up? I think it depends. So if you prefer knitting flat things and then sewing up, then obviously that's going to be easy for you. Personally, I quite like knitting in the round. So for things like sleeves on a bigger cardigan or jumper, I probably knit it all in one. So I've got a cardigan that was knit raglan style. So it started from the collar and then you kind of leave some stitches on scrap yarn to do later, and it's all knit in one. The cardigan's knit backwards and forwards, the sleeves are knit in the round, and there's no sewing up. So I don't think it doesn't even have buttons on. So once I'd finished knitting, then it was just a case of weaving in the yarn ends, and then it was done, which is perfect for me because I have a very big finish pile that I'm using this stream as an excuse to finish. Right, on to some actual knitting. So I've gone through half an hour of a knitting podcast without doing any knitting. This is something that if we've got any viewers from the Arabesque Knit Along might look familiar. This is the lovely wiggly worm that you get after doing colourwork knitting and before blocking. Ta-da! Magic. So this is the project I'm currently knitting. It is the Arabesque blanket. And this is a knit along, and the pattern and the kit is available again from Laughing Hens Yarn. If you're in the UK, there's other suppliers. So this is by Manos del Uruguay Yarns, and it's a modular blanket, and it is absolutely gorgeous. It's in two colourways. So I've gone for the full colourway, which isn't this one. It's the blue, dusky pink, and the grey. And I'm doing some colourwork triangles. I'm working on these bits here. So I've done the middle bit, and I'm working on these standard knitting triangles. So colourwork. I'm not that good at colourwork. I think this is the third thing I've made using standard knitting, and I think I've forgotten everything that I knew back since last time I did it. So I'm doing a very simple technique. I'm not holding the yarn in any special way. What I'm going to do is I knit with one colour until I get to the other, then I drop that yarn, pick up the other and knit with that, and that's one of the simplest ways. So I've got my pattern on my tablet just out of shot, and I'm using Knit Companion, which is an app for Android or iOS, which one of the people on the Arabesque Knit Along Facebook group reminded me existed. I've forgotten who posted that, sorry. Tried to find it earlier, but I couldn't. But it's a great way of tracking your knitting on your phone or a tablet. So, let's do some knitting. Oh, this is like one of those dreams where you're kind of live doing knitting and you think, what if I forget how to knit? At least this side. Okay, so it's got this dusky pink yarn. I'm going to zoom in. There we go. So it starts with knit two together through the back loop. All the rows do that, that's how we get the triangles. I'm trying to do this as a bit of a tutorial because I know some of the people in it along. Feeling not very confident with this. So this pattern said if you can knit and purl, then you'll be able to do this, and then it turns out there's loads of different techniques. So we'll give it a go together. Let's see, knit two through the back loop. So yeah, you just put your needle through the two at the back, knit as normal, and off the needle. And following the pattern. So the next one is the grey. Next one is 3 pinks. Oops, that's the end one. I'm gonna just knit a few things, and I'm gonna slow down and show you a few techniques that I've learned from doing colour work. Yeah, I'm gonna try and keep my hands in camera. Oh, this is the first knit along Chatty makes I've done actually at the same time as other people. I'm actually still in the middle of a crochet along, but yeah, I didn't do it at the same time as anyone. Okay, so the good thing with Knit Companion, the app, is you can track which row you're on, but it's also very easy to track exactly which stitch you're on. Great for colour work for me. I can't remember patterns very well for colour work. It's weird. I can remember a lace pattern normally. Like it gets into my brain, but a colour work, I'm just like, it's just random squares. I've no idea what's going on. So, colour work, tips for colour work. First of all, tools. The knitting needles you use are important. My favourite knitting needles are ChiaoGoo. Got any? I don't. They're all downstairs. They're ChiaoGoo interchangeables, and they're the ChiaoGoo twist set, which are extremely shiny chrome and slippy, and they are great for doing lace, which is my main thing I do. They're absolutely terrible for colour work, because the good thing about what you need to do for colour work is you kind of need to place the stitches where they need to go to get the right tension. I'll show you what I mean now. So I do 3 pinks and then 2 greys. So as you see, I don't know if you noticed that once I'd knitted my 3 pinks, I spaced them out. And what that does is it makes sure that you get the right length of float behind those 3 stitches. You too. So with kind of slippy needles, I'm just going to undo those. Then you end up kind of bunching together, and then you don't have a long enough float behind, and so you kind of make strand of knitting and it all pulls in together and isn't the right tension. But if you kind of spread it out, and I've got some wooden needles on. These are bamboo. These are still ChiaoGoo, but these are the ChiaoGoo spin set, and they're nice bamboo needles. But kind of any needles which have a bit more friction are good for colour work. So wooden needles, plastic needles, Asin, I think is another milk protein one. Oh, I should only have been doing one of them. I used to have a Denise interchangeable set, and they would have been really good. So that's the first tip for colour work. Tools. My second tip is, yes, if you can knit and purl, then you can do colour work. There are loads of videos online that have various ways of holding your yarn. So you could, if you knit continental like I do, you could kind of do something like this. Let's see if I can remember how to do it. So you're kind of holding your yarn, both yarns in the same hand, and you kind of knit either that colour or you can knit that colour, and that's the way of doing it. And if that works for you, that's great, because that's quite a quick way of doing it. There's another way where you can knit half continental and then half English style. So you've got your one colour in your left hand and another colour in your right hand. And if you're a bit ambidextrous and you can actually knit both ways, then that's another way of doing it. So That works quite well. But you can just do what I'm doing, which is just knit one colour at a time. So I've lost where I am on my pattern. Excellent, I am where I thought it was. So I'm on pink. I pick up my pink and knit with the pink. Oh, thanks, Chatty Make. Have a nice walk with your dog. I don't have Instagram, but you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/verynicenits. And I might well get Instagram before. Thank you. Okay, so once I've done my two pink, I pick up my grey and do the stitch with grey. And then I pick up my pink again. So it might be a bit slower this way. Oh, I'm on Ravelry on Gemlad, so that's GEMLAD. I've got the social media links in my profile, so if you want to check me out on social media, then yeah, please do. So the next tip, which I think is the final tip actually for colour work, is getting your floats to look nice. So nice floats and the front of the thing. So you might notice that when I pick up my pink yarn, let me just get my pattern right. When I pick up my pink yarn, I'll if I'm on camera, then I pick it up kind of from underneath the grey. That's the grey, and the pink yarn comes underneath. I'm going to do that. Stitches. And then when I pick up the grey yarn, it goes over the top of the pink, like that. And stitches. Now there's a reason for that. So the pattern colour comes from underneath, and the main colour goes over the top. And you can either remember it that way, or you can know why you do that, and then you might remember it. So we've got this lovely pattern, and actually I'm going to look at the blue because that shows up a bit better on this camera. Now, the pattern colour, you want that pattern to pop. You don't want it to get lost in the background colour. And if we look at the floats for that, then then we've got the blue floats and we've got the grey floats. Now the blue floats kind of go underneath the grey. The grey ones go over the top of the blue. What that means is there's actually slightly more yarn for the blue floats than there is for the grey. So when you block the pattern and when it's moving around, then there's slightly more blue yarn in these stitches than there is grey yarn in those, and so that's what makes it pop. So just a note about colourwork knitting. It's your knitting. As one of my friends said, there's no knitting police. If you're happy with it, then you've done it right. Doesn't matter if the floats are everywhere. If you're happy with it, it's correct. I'm gonna do. Oh, that's a shame. There's another bit I want to talk about, which is about catching long floats. But there's none of that for the next few rows, so I'm going to just do some knitting until we get to that. And to make the triangle, we end and knit 2 together. There we go. Right, doing a row of colour knitting. Oh yeah, I think I'm getting the hang of this. And then you get to this side, which is colour work in Purl, which is, not my camera, which is not something that is done very often. I don't know if you've noticed, but if you look at colour work patterns, a lot of them are done in the round. And yeah, I'm just going to unscrumple my yarn a bit. And I'm doing that wrong. Untwist many. So the reason for doing colour work in the round is that there's no purling. It's all knits. Because knitting, especially for stranded knitting, is purling. There we go. Oh. Let's do this. This is why I'm doing just doing one colour at a time and then picking up the next, because any kind of trying to hold two yarns in the same hand doesn't work for pearls. That I can tell. There might be some way on YouTube or something if you find a tutorial. Right, at the end, so I've just finished with a grey and I'm about to do a pink, so I don't need to do anything at the end to keep my yarns on. I just need to pick up the pink from underneath again and do a purl 2 together. So that's quite easy, a purl 2 together. You just put your needle into 2 stitches at the front and purl as normal. And then pick up my grey. You can see the floats at this side. And so I'm picking up my grey again over the pink, doing 2. I'm on row 32, by the way, for anyone who's following along on the pattern. And then pink underneath, 2 for the grey. But yeah, I'm just going to pattern untangled up. So what else have I been doing this week in knitting? I have been knitting socks. I needed some really brainless knitting. I'm doing kind of when I'm chatting or watching TV because I'm quite a fidgeter. But I prefer doing something like knitting rather than using a fidget toy. So I decided to do some mindful, mindless socks. I'll be putting up some instructions, I think, on Ravelry at some point for these because I've really enjoyed doing them. Basically, you work out how many stitches you need for your sock. So you can do that just by using a sock pattern that you know works for you. And you cast on that many stitches in the round. And then you knit. And you keep knitting in the round until you've got a massive tube that is the length of 2 socks. I'll bring them next time and show you. So once you've got this tube that's the length of 2 socks, it doesn't have cuffs and it doesn't have heels and it doesn't have toes. And what you do is you basically chop it in half. You pick up the stitches on both halves on either waist yarn or on the needles, and then you knit the toes, you knit the cuffs, and then you cut holes in them and do afterthought heels. and I found this a really nice way of kind of having a load of brainless knitting without needing to count rows or worry about heels or anything, or the size of the socks. And I get to do the kind of the brainy bit afterwards. I've really enjoyed doing them. Right, this is one of the worst stitches of the pattern. This is, we end with a purl two together through the back loop. And this is a bugger because it's not too bad once you've got some knitting that you can pull down so that you can get your needle in, but at those first couple of rows it's actually quite tricky. So what you need to do is insert your needle at the back from left to right into the two stitches. That, I don't know if you can see that at all. I'm going to try and twist it round so it's at the back, right to left, like that, and then pull the two together. I've gotten used to it, it's not too bad, but it is an awkward little bug. Right. Row 33, and I'm going to show you a new technique before we finish. So, start off as normal. So I've got my knit two together, pink, and spray from above. Right, now we have a run of 5 pink. I normally knit these right for 5, but you really need to do this if you get to 6 or more stitches of the same colour in a row. You need to catch the floats at the back so that you don't get really long floats. I actually forgot to do this on my first one. So you can see, unravel it, we've got some kind of really long floats here. We're probably going to catch on things. But I'm going to leave them because it's my knitting. I'm happy with them. But then, I remember that I needed to catch my floats. So what I need to do is, like I say, I normally do this when it's 6 or more, but it's up to you. You can do it if it's 5 or more stitches in a row. So it's 5 pink stitches. So I'm going to knit 2, and then I need to get the grey yarn, pop it over pink, that, and I hold it down with my thumb, knit the next stitch, pink, and then get the grey yarn again and move it out of the way, and then knit the other 2. And what we can see there at the back is, instead of one long grey float, I've split it into 2 small grey floats. And a grey, and we're coming up to another 5 at some point, so I will show you that again. One, okay, so now I'm up to another 5 pinks in a row. Grey again. So knit 2 normally. And then get your non-working yarn and cross it above your working yarn. So that might look a bit different if you're knitting English style. Let me try and work out what that might look like. I've got my yarn. Okay, this might need a bit more thinking for you. So you can cross it, and hold it there. It's been a while since I've done and then cross the grey out of the way. So that's how you do it in English. Oh, English style. Okay. I'm going to undo that and do it in continental style again. So I've done 2 stitches with the working colour, with the pink. Get that back on my working yarn. And then I brush the grey over the pink, hold it down with my thumb, knit a stitch, and then cross the grey back out the way and knit the stitch. Okay, once more for luck. I'm going to try showing you English style again. So I've knit my 2 stitches out of the 5. That's why I do continental. I am rubbish at doing English style knitting. That's better. So I've got that working yarn. I cross my non-working yarn over my hand, knit a stitch, and then uncross the non-working yarn. And there we go. Ooh, I need to knit 1 more stitch, pink, and then 1 of the grey. Right, hopefully that's how you've learned how you catch yarn, catch the floats. So yeah, you can see at the back, instead of the long grey float, we've got 2 small ones, and it's just caught at the back. It doesn't show up at the front. That's how you catch floats, long floats. Just to recap, I normally do it if it's a float of 6 or more of the same colour, but you can do it on 5 or more. If it's 12 stitches, you might need to do 2 captures. It depends on the pattern. Good colourwork patterns shouldn't have you doing really long floats anyway, but they're doable. And to finish off today, I'm going to do 1 final knit 2 together. Yay, I've done some knitting on my knitting stream. We've had about an hour, so I'm going to finish up there. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm hoping to stream every week at the same time, so 2 p.m. GMT, until we go to summertime, in which case then it'll be 2 PST. Please follow me on Facebook if you want to keep in touch. So that's facebook.com/verynicenits. I'm active on Ravelry under the username Gemlad. That's GEMLAD. You can find my profile for all those links. And if you want to support me, I would love it if you shared these links with your friends. I'm very much getting the crowd at the moment, and any link is good. I also have an Etsy shop where I'll be designing and knitting shawls. There's one up there at the moment. I've got another one to go up tomorrow. And yeah, hopefully you can join me on stream next time, and I might be knitting a new shawl for the shop as well. I'm going to be continuing to do some tutorials for the Arabesque knit along for my Arabesque friends on the Facebook group. I'll also be trimming those up and putting them on YouTube, so that you don't have to listen to a whole stream if you don't want to. Thanks again for joining me, and hope to see you next week on Very Nice Knits. Take care.